Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us tmosso@the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions regarding this watch. So today we're going to a place we rarely go. It's been years since my last review of a Graham watch. So we're going to shake off the rust and explore the Chronofighter Grand Vintage Left Hand. So Graham's origins in the 1990s were through a company called the British Masters, which, contrary to its name, is actually Swiss, and initially included Tompion, Arnold & Son, and Graham. Now, those different brands got scattered over time to the point that Graham is now still part of British Masters and the original Enterprise, and Arnold & Son is now off with lug-to-lug, and Tompion is pretty much nowhere to be seen. Of those, though, Graham has been the most prominent through the years, and during the 2000s, they coined this idiosyncratic style of chronograph, which, contrary to appearances, works conventionally. It's not a mono-pusher of any kind. So let's talk about the Chronofighter Grand Vintage Left Hand, starting with the size. As the Grand implies, it's 47 millimeters in diameter in steel, 16.9 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, Grand indeed, at 55.8 millimeters. There's a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs, and then you can throw it on the wrist, and you'll appreciate that it's more long down the wrist than it is broad across the wrist. Nevertheless, you do need a big wrist to wear this, and I would opine that mine is a bit undersized. So if this is 16, let's say you need a 17 centimeter circumference wrist. Also, the watch is a bit unusual, almost unique, in the fact that it is so broad and cantilevered on the 9 o'clock side that it can actually cause a cuff to get trapped under the trigger mechanism. So just keep that in mind. This is not a genteel accessory for formal attire. Taking a look at the strap, it's substantial. This is a pleasing piece as it's thick leather and of a good quality. It's got a nice medium brown to it. You can see it appears to have been sanded so that you don't see as much of the top grain, and it's basically seamless. No scars, no bite marks, just a nice calf skin with a contrasting stitch, a sheer cut edge that's been lacquered for refinement, and then black calf on the bottom. You can see no crimping, no gouging. This is a Graham factory strap here. And then we've got a simple stainless steel pin buckle that is brushed and Graham branded. Taking a look at the case, you can see the lugs sprout out rather dramatically from the case band, and I think the idea here is to sort of fuse the style of a pocket watch, which is what Graham himself would have made in the 17th and 18th century, but then also incorporate wristwatch elements like the concave bezel, which visually thins the watch a little bit, and you can see the overlapping flanges of the bezel and the case back, giving it sort of that pocket watch-like mid-case profile. There is a distinction between satin and polish, which is pleasing. You can see it too on the trigger mechanism. The way this works is that they assume you're going to use your thumb to operate the chronograph, which makes sense. Whether the watch is off the wrist or on the wrist, that's actually quite sensible. And this entire lever action is just the start and it is the stop. So you can stop and restart. It's not a mono pusher in that sense. And then once you have stopped, this dramatic plunger up at 10 o'clock is your reset trigger. There is a conventional crown that operates in the fashion of stop seconds and setting by pulling it all the way out. See, that was the date change danger zone, so it's good we didn't attempt to quick set anything right there. So you have the stop seconds or hacking function, and then there is an intermediate crown position where, albeit in opposite direction, you can quick set the date. Now, this dial has a khaki metallic fume, so we've got sort of a olive beige gradient. So olive beige at the center, metallic sunburst that stretches out towards a black border. We've got rose gold plated hands, Arabic numeral 12, and indices. It is fun to operate the watch, I'm not going to lie about that. And it is a well-tuned cam function cycler inside. We know that because we're going to see it in a moment. We have subdials that are silvered with an azurage or concentric pattern. You can see the chronograph minutes down at the base. We'll do a loom shot here. It is a sports watch. It's 100 meters water resistant on a different strap. That is one that can get wet. You could swim with it. Turn it all over. We have a high-grade Concepto. I believe this is a 1747, so it's Concepto's version of the age-old 7750. If you're wondering how Concepto and La Jouperet and Salida can all make versions of the 7750, it's so old that all of the copyrights and patents have expired. Anyone can make a 7750. And you know it's the Concepto, besides the mark on the base plate, because it has this unique eccentric screw regulator. So when you see that sharp, jagged regulator over the eccentric screw, you know you're looking at a Concepto of some kind. Now, there's a high-grade balance. You know this because if you look at the spokes, you can see they're splayed out and almost hourglass-shaped rather than straight. So this is probably a top grade, and I judge that by the finishing, the quality of the hairspring, and the design of the balance, plus the fact that most wouldn't bother to 5-position adjust a base or a labouré. So this is a high-grade 7750, second from the top, and even second from the top doesn't necessarily mean 5-position adjusted. So this is somewhere between top and chronometer in terms of how it's actually delivered to you. 25 joules, that's expected on a 7750. Unidirectional winding, 42 to 48 hour power reserve. It has a cam function cycler, which you can see right there. And then it has an oscillating pinion lateral clutch, which you could see right there. So you can see the wire spring for the clutch and then the outer edge of the clutch. The nice thing about an oscillating pinion is it has so little play that if you just press and hold the start trigger, watch this. Watch the seconds hand. Almost no extraneous movement. Oscillating pinions are a type of lateral clutch that is nearly seamless. As a result, they can be as smooth to engage as a vertical clutch. A lot of folks don't realize that every 7750 architecture has that, and it's sort of an undersold advantage of the genre. So if you love this watch, you're getting a good movement, an unusual style, and versatile with loom, steel construction, automatic winding, and swimmable water resistance, and something you will not see every day. So reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.